Hi, I'm Val Girling, and I wanted to talk to you today not about writing but about reading. Lots of you out there enjoy the idea of being in a book group, and they're very popular. And maybe you might be thinking about actually running one yourself. I know that most book groups, it would appear when I talk to people, are run on the lines of everybody reads the same book, and a month or so later, they all come together and they talk about what they thought about it. Perhaps they even write a review and read it out. And that can be okay so long as there aren't too many of you. And if there are too many of you, the problem is that by the time the fourth or fifth person has spoken, there's very little fresh to say, and it can end up being quite boring. I belonged to one, and I thought that, and I thought actually I'd like to start my own with a slightly different rationale, so that it's a bit more dynamic and a bit more lively. And also, I read a lot more than one book a month, and I quite fancied the idea of talking about more than one book a month, and thought there must be several more people who shared my views. So I started my own group, and we've stuck at 6 people. We've stuck at 6 people because we feel that we get plenty of opportunities then to discuss and interrupt one another, not rudely, but with pertinent points, so that instead of it being one person holding forth and everybody listening, and then another person holding forth and everybody listening, we all get chance to contribute and ask questions of one another and what we have read. Now, uh, as far as reading the same book is concerned, sometimes we read the same book. For example, one book that we read, which we all got a great deal out of and had plenty to say about, was Tortilla Flat by John Steinbeck. And that was great. And what I often do is for all of these sessions, I actually research the book, read the books first, and write then some conversation starters, some pointers, some questions that when we come together will help us to keep the conversation rolling. Not that we ever seem to have much of a problem with that, but sometimes we reach the end of a point and we need to move on. So with that, I gave question pointers and we discussed those. Now sometimes we don't discuss the same book. We actually choose a genre or an author or several other categories that I can think of, that we all read different books. And that has proved to be very, very popular, because what happens is that if I, having done some research, choose the books carefully, or in fact choose the genre or theme carefully enough, we find that when we come together, even though we've read different books, we all have very different viewpoints to put forward, and we end up learning an awful lot about either the author or the country that they were set in or the period that they were set in. And in fact, if there are 6 of you who have read different books, what can happen is that, for example, you take the books along and you swap them because you want to recommend them to other people. So in actual fact, you gain a lot out of that rather than all having already read the same book. We actually take 6 books along and swap them, and we can all read each other's books. Now, sometimes we actually do something slightly different, which is read a book and then watch a film that has been inspired by the book and compare them, so that we can actually see what changes have been made from the text to make a film out of it. And that can be very, very interesting. So there are lots of things that you can do out there. This is just a brief toe in the water clip about all the different things you could do. What I suggest is, of course, that you actually try maybe this for yourself. Research online, look at book groups, look at book clubs, look at some of the awards for books and see which books might be advisable for you to read. And what I think I'll do is do another clip where I actually go through some of the genre, some of the authors that we have read that have been very successful, perhaps share some of the questions. So perhaps if you could give me some feedback on the video or comments on YouTube, that would be great so that I know what to include in the next clip. But I do recommend a new way of looking at book groups, and I hope that you feel like experimenting soon. So I'll see you again very shortly. Okay, happy reading.